Amanda Chavez, Persuasive Presentation. Do all lives matter? Is Black Lives Matter a respectable movement? Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by a police officer during their lifetime than a white man is. Statistically, only in the United States, that is roughly 1 in 1,000 Black men and boys will be killed by a police officer during their lifetime. Although we all may not personally be affected by racial discrimination, it still affects our communities majorly. I live in a community where a majority of the residents are people of color. There's only a small percentage of white people where I live. Although I might be a very pale person, I am Hispanic. I grew up in Salinas, California with some of my family members that were from Mexico, and my family members are several shades darker than I am, and on several occasions when I was in public with these family members, I would be questioned by strangers, and just strangers that I never seen before, asking me if I was kidnapped, if I was okay, just because I was several shades lighter than my family members. I do believe Black Lives Matter is a respectable movement and is very underestimated by those who do not believe in it. And I will be just discussing main points of the problem, a cause, and a solution to the Black Lives Matter movement, and going into the problem. Racial profiling. Racial profiling can happen in public. Trayvon Martin was a 17-year-old kid who was murdered. He was murdered by a neighborhood watch captain. Trayvon Martin was walking through this neighborhood. He had went to a convenience store to buy Skittles and a soft drink. When he was walking home from the convenience store, that this neighborhood watch captain saw Trayvon and thought he was a suspicious character. The neighborhood captain called it in to the non-emergency, but ended up taking matters into his own hands and killing Trayvon Martin. And that was published by the History website, and the title of the article being Florida Teen Trayvon Martin Shot and Killed. And along with racial profiling in public, racial profiling could also happen in the police system. Days after Trump endorsed the stop and frisk in Chicago, the Bureau of Justice Statistics released its new report on interactions between police and the public, and this survey dates back from 2015, but the report reminds us that police stops and use of force already are racially discriminating. Police are twice as likely to use force against people of color. Black residents were more likely to be stopped by police than white residents. Racial profiling can happen anywhere between the public, the police system. It's a problem that's happening in the United States. And then going into the cause being that the criminal justice system is racially biased, and biased when you consider that much of the criminal justice system was built during the Jim Crow era, and the Jim Crow era was the Jim Crow era during this time, a majority of the public was known to be very conservative and conceited, rifle with racism. The modern criminal justice system helped preserve racial order and kept Black people in their quote-unquote place. And that was an article published by the Washington Post website, and the title of the article being "There is an overwhelming evidence that the criminal justice system is racist, and here's the proof." And then going from just the cause of the criminal justice system being Racially biased, going into that racism and structural power. Racism is it's not a genetic disorder. It is not a virus. It's racism is learned behavior that is supported by law systems and family members. The power of racism is in its institutionalized, which allows individuals to gain prejudice power over minority groups through structural power and privilege. Structural power determines who gets access to equal education, who gets hired for jobs, who gets the highest paying job, and who gets the highest paying job for doing the same exact job, just based on your skin color. Although there are many laws input to for that not to happen, but it's still an issue that happens, and that was an article that was published by InsideNews.com, and the name of the article being White Racism versus Black Prejudice, Language Matters. And then going from the causes and going to the solution, which is bringing awareness to the cause of Black Lives Matter. Many stereotype sources of conflict are based on myths and misinformation. It is by confronting these myths directly that we undermine our our justification for prejudice. And that was published by tolerance.org, and the title of that being Strategies for Reducing Racial Ethnic Prejudice, Essential Principles. And in conclusion, Black Lives Matter movement is not to discredit the livelihood of other races, but to bring awareness to racial injustice. Injustice affects more than just Black people. The main point of the problem of racial profiling, the causes that lead to a racially biased criminal justice system, and the solution to bring awareness to the cause. And as well, to always remember it is a privilege to learn about racism rather than having to experience it firsthand. Black lives indeed do matter.